Oh, hello, guys. Welcome back. So, this feels timely for one of you. Loki wants the truth from us. I don't know how many times I've said that on this channel, but this feels timely. And it applies to me as well, so I get to listen to it too. Loki wants the truth from us. For example, if we're worried about something, sit down and talk with him. And we might find, and I got this from, listening to one of those therapy videos, and this works really well. Say, well, I'm worried about this. Okay. Whatever you're worried about. Maybe you're worried about your job. And I'll go, okay, what are you worried about the job? And then you'll say, well, I'm worried about this part of the job. And he'll go, okay, well, why does that worry you? You might find out 6 or 7 questions later that's not your job you're worried about at all. It's losing your apartment or something like that. And, once you get to the real thing you're really worried about, as we did today, it really wasn't the insurance I was worried about at all. He's like, okay, I understand that, but he's not going to sit here and worry with me. He goes, have some faith, have some faith. It's all going to work out. And, I called my friend and she's been saying basically you have to take what life deals you, but I like to say you have to roll with the punches sometimes. And she's right. Sometimes we have challenges in our life, but Loki wants the truth from us about how well we're handling them. We don't do him any favors at all, and we don't do ourselves any favors when we pretend to be big and brave and strong when we're really terrified and we're wondering why Loki isn't giving us a cuddle. You have to tell him if you're afraid. You have to tell him. And we sat down for about an hour and we talked about, well, hey, like a couple weeks ago, we were looking at having Amazon and having all these movies, and it looked like it was going to be, disregarding everything else going on the planet, a pretty good winter because we were planning on having Amazon and we were going to watch all these great movies. And then they sent me the bill and I refunded it. And so we went from all those great movies to back to YouTube, which has great movies, but we never watched them. And, I went from thinking my insurance would be covered to having to do this again. And I know I'll be okay. I have 28 days to get this done. Sounds like a zombie movie. I have a lot of time to get this done. Even if they send it to me like the day of that it's due, I could still call on the phone and just keep my ass parked on the phone and get it done that day. And, get them the stuff emailed so I can make the deadline. But if I don't get it, I just have to have faith that Loki is going to work out. Loki, the universe, Buddha, the tree outside, whomever you pray to is going to handle it. But you have to give Loki the truth. You have to tell him what you're afraid of. And it's okay to be afraid. You'd be damn well stupid if you weren't afraid of something this year. If you're not afraid of COVID this year, or at least very damn respectful of it, you're a fucking idiot. You guys are like, oh, she's back. We wondered. Yeah, you're an idiot. And you guys know I said that with all due love and respect. I can tell you for fucking sure that everyone around here is not in some great conspiracy. Every layman around here, to put it, that way, doesn't believe in it. They think it's a hoax, it's not real. Every fucking medical professional believes in this shit. Do you really think an emergency room and a whole medical suite, 2 different locations, are pretending that coronavirus exists? Fuck no, this shit exists. They ask you, they do your temperature. This isn't for funsies, this isn't a fucking conspiracy. People are dying from this shit. And they kind of just don't tell you when you go to the emergency room, yeah, we're just busy, from ambulances. Go sit back in the emergency room. We don't have any beds. You gotta go sit back in the area. Yeah, I had to sit like in the area, then you go back to triage and you go sit back in the area. Then you get to have a bed for like 30 seconds. And if your ass ain't dying, out. So, it was a different experience. You really think they're doing that shit because it's fun? No, they have to do it because COVID's real. So, sidebar. But Loki is not ashamed of us if we're afraid of stuff, if we're scared of stuff. He's not ashamed of us if we make wrong decisions. Like I made a wrong decision about going to Thanksgiving. Thankfully, I had time to walk it back. And then I saw that oh, what's her full name? God damn it. She's a talk show, not talk show, a news host I like. She talked about her beloved one being, deathly ill from COVID. And I'm like, yeah, because she put it in the right terms. She said, I know a lot of us don't care what happens to ourselves, but think of those you love, because that's not how COVID works. You might not be the one to get it. You might carry it to someone you love, and then what the fuck you gonna do? She, of course, doesn't swear as much as I do. He's like, she back. So, it was actually good. I called my friend and she basically, I don't know if I said this time, she said, you got to kind of like take what life hands you. You got to roll with the punches. It's cold as fuck today and she's outside bundled up. I'm like, somebody wants the flu, but I ain't gonna say anything. My mother had, pneumonia all the time, so I don't do shit like that, but she wants to go out and sit in the cold, have fun. Lucky's like, that's not judgmental at all. Hopefully her God will protect her. Anyhow, Lucky's not ashamed of us if we get afraid of stuff. He's not ashamed of us if we're ashamed of something about ourselves and we're hiding it from him. Um, Other than an overwhelming urge to kill your neighbors because you don't like their selection of music, which is understandable, but other than something like that, talk to Loki. Talk to him. And if you are ashamed of something, tell him, well, this is what I'm ashamed of about myself. If you want to gradually change, if you can, there are a lot of things about ourselves we can't change, do that, but love yourself while you're going through the change. But what he needs most of all is the truth. He needs the truth from us. He needs us to be honest, to say, this is what I'm afraid of this year. This is what's pissing me off this year. These are the people I would like to drop in a giant ass blender and hit puree on. Tell him the truth. Tell him the stuff you really want. You might get hysterical laughter, but tell him what you really want. This is not the god of manifesting, by the way. Tell him what you want. Tell him what you want. Tell him, like, I would feel a lot better if, and sometimes, surprisingly, out of the blue, every so often he'll be like, okay, here you go. Usually not. Usually not. I have kept working on him on that $1 million, and he just gives me side eye and goes, we are not a fancy people, young lady, so it's not coming anytime soon. So I'm trying to work on Apollo, and Apollo's kind of like, maybe, maybe not. But tell him. And if you're worried that he's gonna leave you because you're working with another god, tell him, because I know he can be quite the drama king and queen. He can throw fits and flounce around, and you think he's going to leave, and he's packing, as we used to say, it was this little fox toddling around, packing his little handkerchief and putting it on a stick, and he's gonna leave because he's not gonna leave you. He's not gonna leave you. He just wants to see what the fuck he can get away with. If he can be only God by throwing a traumatic fit, he will. He might even leave for like 20 seconds, but he's sure if he goes and he sits on your porch, he can make you do what he wants, right? No, he won't leave. He's okay with Apollo now. Pan is still off limits, but he's okay with Apollo now. Odin seems to have buried the hatchet. Right now in 2020, all the gods seem to be setting their personal beasts aside, except for with Pan. I don't know what the hell it is with Pan, because a lot of people serve him and they seem just fine. But, Loki doesn't want him in here, and Apollo really doesn't seem to want him either, which is strange. I looked at Apollo and I said, some people say you and Dionysus are the same deity, and he said, he's just looking at me like he's still not getting in here. I don't know. Maybe he's one of those gods that exasperates things. We've talked about that before. So to celebrate letting go of stuff and telling Loki the truth instead of trying to hide from him like I usually do, and then I'm stressed out and sick and wonder why, we are making some of the frozen meat that my friend sent down. And I love her, and I would both like to hit her head on a counter because she picked all her extremely, extremely, extremely freezer burned meat to send down to me. There wasn't a single piece so far that I haven't got out that hasn't been buried in ice. And I know it's not my freezer because stuff I've put in my freezer is fine. It's what she sent down. Um, and luckily I found a thing online. It's not even my recipe. 4 to 6 hours at 250 degrees. You're gonna throw your frozen meat, your seasonings, and your veg or whatever else you got going on in a big old pot. Cover with enough water to even let it float a little bit. That's a pro tip for me, especially if it's frozen to fucking back and it's like growing ice crystals. Get it in there for 4 to 6 hours. As long as you put enough water in there, you're not going to taste the freezer burn. I just put a bunch of spices in there, some soy sauce, bunch of water. Don't have any veg on hand at the moment unless it's canned veg, and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. So we're gonna try to make cube steaks. Those won't be done till late this evening, but we can have a cube steak for a late snack, or save it to tomorrow or something. So, you gotta tell Loki the truth. You gotta tell Loki the truth. I know it's hard, and I know you're scared that he's gonna be ashamed or disappointed or something. He's told me, so what? I'll get over it. I've never experienced him being ashamed of me, no matter what. I've experienced him looking at me and raising an eyebrow and going, "What? Would you care to repeat that?" But, he's never ashamed of us. He really never is. He's never really disappointed in us. If he's disappointed, it's for like 5 seconds. It's like, I want that toy. We can't afford it. Okay, so and then he's off on something else. He was disappointed we didn't get pizza, and then he popped right back up. So he's doing okay, but you gotta be honest with him. You owe him the truth. You owe any God you serve the truth. The same rules apply to any god, by the way. So if you go, well, that sounds like too much, I'm going to Odin or someone else. There is no god out there that wants to lie to. There's no god out there that wants to hear you tell them what they want to hear. There's no god worthy of taking care of a human, which we're pretty delicate little primates, of hearing, oh, everything's fine and you're dying inside. You don't have to do that with the gods. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to wear a mask with them. You don't have to, pretend everything's okay. You can tell them all the horrible, messy stuff you won't tell other people. We won't even maybe tell your therapist, like, oh, if the therapist knew this, she kicked me out of therapy. You tell Loki all that. You tell Loki all that. And then he might encourage you, like, well, this person in your life, maybe this is a good person to talk to, or, just work it out in your own time, whatever works. But you owe Loki the truth. We owe ourselves the truth, telling Loki the truth, because then you're sharing the burden with Loki, and Loki will help you through it. So Loki's like, tell him the thing you said. I often say this'll pass. It might pass like a kidney stone, but this'll pass. I think I picked it up from a Christian humorist. I'm not sure. But if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you later. Bye bye.